What's happening, class? Dave Donahue here, Savannah, Georgia. Hey, what a really interesting topic. I'm really looking forward to hearing everybody's input on this particular topic. So I just tried to be real when it came to discussing what I felt like the biggest advantages that I personally put in use for the flight plan function of really just about any GPS, uh, as opposed to continually getting in and doing a direct to function. So God knows we all love the direct to function. And that's been one really nice thing about advancing through instrument and now into commercial and stuff like that, is becoming so much more comfortable and aware of the versatility of our GPSs. I've really enjoyed that. And one place, or I'm going to cover three areas actually. Uh, they might be kind of obvious, but maybe not. Maybe they'll be news to you. But it's just again, me trying to be real. This is where I use it. This is where I find the biggest advantages of it. So I felt like that's what the question was asking for. So I'll go over that real quick. And I feel like the things I'm going to cover would be equally benefiting. The reason why I like these, save the last one. Why I pick these, I feel like they would really be equally benefiting to students as well as professionals flying for a living. So let me jump into it. One, uh, if you're anything like me, you're flying as a student, you're flying based off a syllabus. We're all flying off of this commercial syllabus. And what I have to do anyways here on the East Coast in Savannah is I've got to develop, well, for example, I've got this right here. So stage one, phase two, scenario four is a 100 nautical mile day trip, right? But I can't just sit down and go, okay, from Savannah to Columbia, South Carolina is 106 nautical miles or something in that ballpark. And that's the one I'm going to do on the day that I have the airplane scheduled. I can't do that because the weather that particular, it's so random. These afternoon thunderstorms and summer thunderstorms are so random. What I have to do is I have to develop, what I've learned is I've had to develop what I call like multiple quadrant flights. So multiple quadrant flights for one scenario, right? And so what I'm saying is in order to complete that one scenario, that one flight, I've actually got to develop a 100 nautical mile day trip that goes to the northeast, to the northwest, and one maybe just directly to the west, southeast, and south. And that's what I'll do. And that is especially true for the 250 nautical mile trips, right? And I have to do that because that particular day when I pull up the TAF or I call flight services and get an idea of one thing I really want to know is what's the flow that's happening, you know? Well, anyways, if you're anything like me, you're developing all that off of ForeFlight and saving it as a starred trip. And um, you're doing that from sitting at home. And with that, you're developing these trips and you're moving your lines around to stay out of, let's just say, special use airspaces and TFRs and all this other kind of stuff. Maybe you're avoiding airports, you know, with parachuting operations or glider operations going on. So anyways, you're developing this trip and you're saving it as a starred trip. And it's awful nice in the flight plan now that when we get on the GPS that we can get in there and do exactly what it is that we have, or maybe even on some of these GPSs, we can do a Bluetooth connect where we can take, and we don't have to re-input all the information, but we can take and just like Bluetooth transfer it. So that's really cool to be able to do that. Let me look at some of my notes here. So, oh yeah, so especially for like a 250 nautical mile day trip, for example. So a couple things come into play here, and I'll come full circle on this. But the evening before, let's just say I've got like on one of my trips, it's a 250 nautical mile day trip, and I worked at the FBO, so I know how annoying it is. I hate doing it to those guys, just calling in and putting a fuel order in on an airplane, and they get out to the airplane and it doesn't need fuel because whoever flew it last had it topped off. I don't know. but that happens. And so I hate doing that to them. So what I'll do, especially before a really big trip, 250 nautical mile day trip, leaving out at 6 o'clock in the morning, 6:30 in the morning, I'll actually go there the night before. I'm kind of fortunate. I'm not too far off from the airport. I'll go there the night before. After I'll take a look at the school schedule, make sure no one else is flying or whatever. Like 8, 9 o'clock, usually if no one's on the schedule at that point, it's probably going to be clear. And anyways, I'll go in and I'll have the airplane fueled, verify that it needs fuel and fuel it. And then I can take that same plan that I had developed on ForeFlight and I can save it as a stored flight plan on the GPS. So that's a huge advantage of using the flight plan function versus Direct 2 and reinventing the wheel at 6:30 in the morning. That would be just something I don't want to do that early. I want to drink coffee and then jump in the airplane and everything be in its place and be right and get clearance, listen to ATIS and get clearance and just start rocking and rolling. That sounds like a good morning to me. So yeah, that's one. Take a look at the notes here. So number 2, flight planning using the flight plan function and fuel planning, right? So I don't do gauges. I don't trust fuel gauges, especially in these trainer airplanes, these old 172s and Cherokee. I don't trust the fuel gauges. I set fuel timers. And being able to visualize each distance between legs and that you've had planned, being able to visualize that distance in the flight plan function, and then use the ground speed that you're actually getting right there. So if you end up bucking more of a headwind than originally anticipated, you can use just that good old-fashioned formula, distance divided by speed equals time. And that's the most accurate values you can use, and I'll use that in turn in my fuel planning. So it all finds its origins back to the how nice it is to have that flight plan function. And so then when you get on the ground and you, like at a self-serve station, for example, you guys are probably all familiar with this, you get to a self-serve station and what are the options when you put your card in? It has like pay, reserve, put $300 hold on your card and you might only need 6 gallons per side, So you can avoid having to do that because by using the most by being able to sequentially and methodically calculate time with real-world distance and ground speed values, you can have an exact idea of how much fuel you need and only hold that amount, only put that amount on your card. So hey, there's just a fiscal idea for you if you're like me. All right, and then before this gets too long, finally number 3, I really like the invert flight plan option, especially as a student training. Whatever it was I wanted to avoid, special use airspace, TFRs, airports with parachute operations or glider operations, whatever it was that I wanted to avoid on the way, on the round robin trip to a destination is probably the same exact stuff I want to avoid on the way back. So it's really nice being able to invert a flight plan. All right, before it gets too long, those were the couple of factors that I found to be highly beneficial over using the Direct 2 navigation all the time. Take care. I look forward to hearing it. See ya.